The late afternoon sun dripped honey through the gaps in the boarded-up windows of the abandoned church. Dust motes danced in the golden light, illuminating a figure hunched over a weathered piano. This was where Esperanza came, to escape the suffocating silence of her apartment. The sideways glances that followed her down the street, the subtle, constant hum of being an outsider in a town that claimed to be colorblind but saw only black and white. Esperanza's fingers, long and graceful, danced across the yellowed keys. The melody that poured forth was a lament, a blues riff tinged with the sorrow of generations. She closed her eyes, her brow furrowed in concentration, the notes weaving a tapestry of pain and hope. This old piano, rescued from a dumpster behind the community center, was her confidant, her refuge. Here, in this forgotten space, she could be just Esperanza, not Esperanza, the only black girl in her grave, not Esperanza, the charity case, not Esperanza, the mystery. The music faltered, then stopped. She opened her eyes, the weight of the world settling back on her shoulders. Tomorrow was the audition for the city orchestra, a chance, a real chance, to prove them all wrong. But doubt, like a persistent weed, choked her confidence. What if they didn't like her? What if they saw only her skin and not her talent? What if a rustle broke the silence? Esperanza startled, her heart leaping into her throat. A young boy, no older than 10, stood in the doorway, his eyes wide with wonder. He was thin, dressed in clothes too big for him, his face smudged with dirt. That was, oh, beautiful, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Esperanza lowered her hands, a blush creeping up her neck. Thank you, she mumbled, self-conscious. I'm Matteo, the boy said, stepping closer. I heard you playing from down the street. My grandma used to play the piano too, but hers was all happy songs. Esperanza managed a small smile. Mine are a little complicated. Maybe you need a happy song, Matteo suggested, tilting his head. And just like that, a connection was forged. Over the next few weeks, Matteo became Esperanza's unlikely muse. He would bring her wildflowers picked from the overgrown lot next to the church, tell her stories about his abuela's cooking and hum simple, joyful melodies. He saw past the walls Esperanza had built, the defenses she had erected to protect herself from the world's harshness. He saw her, the girl who loved music, the girl who dreamed of soaring beyond the confines of her circumstances. One day, Matteo asked her to teach him to play. Esperanza hesitated. She wasn't a teacher, not really. But looking into his earnest eyes, she couldn't refuse. So she started with the basics, patiently guiding his small fingers over the keys. He was a natural, picking up melodies with surprising speed. As she taught Matteo, Esperanza realized she was learning something too. She was learning to let go of the fear, the anger, the resentment that had been simmering inside her for so long. She was learning to embrace the joy, the hope, the possibility that music offered. The day of the audition arrived, cloaked in a nervous anxiety that threatened to suffocate her. Matteo, sensing her apprehension, gave her a single wildflower, a bright yellow sunflower. Play your happy song, Esperanza, he whispered, the one you taught me. Standing before the panel of judges, the hushed anticipation in the room heavy on her shoulders, Esperanza closed her eyes. She thought of Matteo, of his unwavering belief in her, of the sunflower clutched in her hand. She breathed deeply and began to play. It wasn't the somber blues riff she had planned. Instead, her fingers danced across the keys, weaving a melody that was both complex and joyful, a fusion of classical technique and the soulful rhythm of her heart. It was a song about resilience, about hope, about the power of connection to overcome adversity. It was a song about Esperanza. When she finished, the silence in the room was palpable. Then slowly applause erupted. The judges, their faces etched with genuine emotion, nodded their approval. Esperanza was accepted into the orchestra. It wasn't just a victory for her, it was a victory for Mathiol, for her abuela, for every person who had ever been told they weren't good enough, for every dream that dared to take flight. The music had cracked the walls, painted over the divisions, and whispered a new story, one of belonging, of acceptance, of the transformative power of art to heal and unite. The abandoned church, once a symbol of neglect, became a beacon of hope, a place where music blossomed and where two souls from different worlds found solace and strength in each other's song. And as Esperanza practiced for her first concert, with Matteo proudly watching from the sidelines, she knew that her journey had just begun.